Good morning, people. I hope you slept well. I hope you woke up feeling refreshed, revitalized, giving God thanks. Now, today, September the 20th, return to your rest, O my soul, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you, so that our soul can be at rest and be at peace. And that is Psalm 116, verse 7. Remember, you are blessed and highly favoured, a magnet for miracles, the solution to someone's problem, and the answer to someone's prayer. So these Facebook Live videos, I'm going to say, please like and share. They are not just so that we can get the next move to do, because that's what people look for. People are asking me, you've done a few videos and you've talked about a few things and it's really helpful, but I want more movement. I can give you movement, but what I wanted to do is just to discuss today briefly looking at the pain or looking at the person. So, and this really kind of been inspired from, I just watched a video from a colleague of mine that was on the Integrated Movement Science Level 3 with me, Nico Becker, which is excellent. He just put out this morning, and he put it in a different way to how I put it, but I just really like the way he succinctly put it. And the whole point is this: when you go to see a physio or medical professional, whatever you go to see them for the point of pain. If you are depressed and people think you've got mental health issues, which I'm not, because I know they are major at the moment, you go to see a psychologist, so someone to deal with what's in your head. You have a bloated stomach, you've got diarrhea, constipation, you go to see someone to deal with your diet, to see what's going on in your tummy. You have an issue in your low back or your knee or your ankle, your foot, you go to see a physio with the issue for the point of pain. So you go to deal with the pain, because obviously depression is also painful. So it's pain, emotional pain in the head. You've got an issue that's like a physical pain in the stomach. You've got a structural pain in a joint or a ligament. So you go to see different people. But the point of the matter is, you can't take your knees to the physio and leave your head at home. You can't take your knees and leave your back. You are one person. And if we don't look at the whole person, then we can never really figure out what's really going on. So, Nico put it really succinctly, and I've been saying to you, when I do my workshop next weekend, I am looking at the 6 principles of total health, and the first one starts with thoughts. So your thoughts impact your emotions. Every thought has an emotional response. If you're driving along and someone pulls out in front of you, or someone jumps in front of you and cuts you up and you have a near miss or something, you jump, you have an emotional response. That emotional response triggers a hormonal response straight away, and that's adrenaline. It flies out of you, and if it's a road rage incident, you stay animated and you get really frustrated. So that one thought, oh God, he could have hit me, what's he doing, why are you so stupid, that thought triggers an emotional response. That emotional response triggers a hormonal response. Now, if the thoughts that you have are I'm just giving you one example, that's just a short one, but when it triggers that hormonal response, it immediately alters your breathing. You become much more short and shallow. If you're not conscious of your breathing, that makes a difference, right? So once that continues all the time, what happens is the way in which we breathe stimulates one or two pathways. Hyperventilation, holding the breath, a fear response stimulates the pathway, the sympathetic pathway that says, you know what, turn and fight, stay and fight, or turn and run. So that's the sympathetic pathway. So you stimulate your stress hormones just from one thought. But if you breathe and much more chi, you stimulate the pathway that says life is really good, the world is really good, and that's it. You don't stimulate the same pathway. You don't get the same emotional, hormonal organ response. So when we look at a person and we treat the pain, we know already that if you haven't fallen, you haven't tripped, you haven't fallen, nothing's happened, but you keep getting recurring knee pain, you may have a bladder infection, or you may have low back pain. We just treat the pain. You've got a bladder infection, not really sure where it came from. My knee just keeps hurting me, not really sure where it came from. I've got low back pain, not really sure where it came from. It may be an organ response. Because what happens is a thought creates an emotional response. The emotional response triggers a hormonal response that puts the body into either fight, flight, or repair, restore, rebuild, refresh. And most people are living in fight, flight, So when that happens, your body, as I've said this before, it will not sit down and think, you know what, let's have sex and make babies and let's digest our food and sit down and have a nice big meal. No, what it thinks is that it's got to either fight or run. So it will take the blood from the organs, turn it to the muscles, which I shared this, I think, last week. And that's it, because the muscles need the blood, because either I'm going to knock you out or I'm going to run away from you, one of the two. But I'm not going to sit down and digest my food and think about, storing and incubating a fetus in my womb and making a baby. So you suppress the hormones that allow you to relax and digest. But just as Nico shared, what you have to remember is once you suppress the hormones over a long time, especially for the gastrointestinal tract, one of the things that affects us as black people a lot, constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel. Constipation we look at as Czech professionals as being not letting go, and a lot of people don't let go. I did my workshop at Dave McQueen's RIP in July, and I asked that question. I asked, how many times do you go to the toilet? Some people go to the toilet maybe once a week, twice a week, doo-doo. And for them, that's regular, that's normal. But as Paul put in his book, the potty train should come like an hour after every meal. So if you're having 3 meals a day, that should be 3 bowel movements. If you're only going once a week, what you have to remember is your doo-doo is toxic. It's the toxic waste that the body has in the colon that it wants to expel from the body. But if you've got digestive tract issues and you've got blockages and you're not releasing that, a full colon can weigh as much as 10 pounds. 10 pounds. Somebody says, I've put on 2 kilos. I'm really stressed, I've put on 2 kilos. Oh my God, I've put on half a stone. But you can walk around with half a stone full of doo-doo. So I make really pun jokes, but I say, you really are full of shit. You really are. Because you're full of it, 10 pounds of it. It's ridiculous. A full bladder is going to be 3 or 4 pounds. That's a stone extra of weight, of toxic waste that you can't get rid of. So you have to wonder what's going on in there. Bowel cancer and it's sigmoid colon. That's where that little curly bit is at the bottom. That's where that waste gets stuck. If you put waste into your compost dustbin and it doesn't disappear, after a couple of days it starts to get moist. That's what your colon is like. So you've got to think about those things. So when you have an emotional response and a hormonal response that affects the way in which you digest or don't digest food, you have an issue and you have a bout of irritable bowel because you're stressing about something that you won't let go of, that really in the scheme of things you need to be able to affirm and release. It has an impact on your digestive system. Once it has an impact on your digestive system and your organs over time, your organs become inflamed. So then they don't work properly. They start to swell. So then what happens is the girdle, the natural girdle, the transverse abdominals, which is the major stabilizer for your back, and the multifidus, which is the true stabilizer for the low back, they won't contract and do their job properly, because if they squeeze inflamed organs, you're going to have more pain. So now, if you don't have those muscles working, you will not have the stability for your spine. So if you don't have the stability for your spine, that's going to affect the stability of your pelvis. You don't have the stability of your pelvis, but you're going out there doing all your high impact boxing, jumping, kicking, doing whatever else, then your joints are at a higher risk of being damaged than if you were able to be able to support and stabilize the spine and the pelvis. The minute you can't stabilize the spine and the pelvis, the spine becomes what we call naked and it's exposed to damage. The knees become exposed to damage. The ankles become exposed to damage because the system doesn't work properly. So when we try to look at a person, I'm not just interested in what you present me with. So I had somebody that came up to me and said to me, Freeness, earlier on this year, I've had this low back pain for a couple of years and I've been told you're the person that can deal with it. The minute I say, well, okay, I need to book in an assessment, they look at me like you're trying to rip me off, you're trying to get my money. No, I don't know if your pain in your back is actually in your head first. What are you not letting go of? Somebody came and asked me a question earlier on at RIP in the summer and said to me, I'm not 50 yet, you're How to Live a Fabulous Life After 50, but I wanted to see what you had to say because I found it interesting. But I have these sweats at night, what's going on? And I asked her if it was between a particular time. She told me, and it's when the liver detoxifies. She said, oh, that makes sense. And then I just whispered in her ear, do you forgive easily? That's all I whispered in her ear. And she burst into tears. How did I get there? And then it all came out. I've had that before. I've had someone who'd done their back in. I've told you about the woman that I helped who'd done her back, and even in the first session, she had the best weekend of her life. But it came from, and when we started to talk, there was some deep-rooted emotional stuff there. And she was lined up for surgery and fixed her in 20 days. Took her to my friend Warren to reset her atlas, and he could do some work on her here. And he said, everything Jenny's doing is amazing, but I can feel you've got some deep-rooted emotional stuff here. And what Jenny's done is mechanical. And if you don't deal with this emotional stuff, it has the potential to undo everything she's done. And you know what? She went to work, 2 comments, 1.5 hours, and she went from being twisted to being like this, that we did it, I managed to do in 20 days, 2 comments, and she was back here and had an operation a week later. That is how powerful your thoughts are and the impact they can have on your whole body and manifest as pain. So when I say, am I looking at the pain or looking at the person? I'm looking at the person. This is the reason why an assessment takes an average about 8 hours. Now I've just done my integrated movement science. Initially when I did the physical assessment, it took me 2.5 hours. It will now take me 3.5 hours. So for 450 quid, I'm sorry, that's not bad. I'm looking at your visceral health, I'm looking at your organ health, I'm looking at your limbic emotional health, I'm looking at your diet and lifestyle factors. I'm trying to find out what it is that's making you have these issues, especially when you tell me you haven't fallen over, you didn't do this. This is where you find it. So when we look at how to live a fabulous life after 50, especially as women of colour, we have to look at the factors we've got. If we're going to sit around and we're not going to forgive, if we're going to stay angry all the time, it's going to manifest itself in our gut, which is our master controller. It's going to cause us irritable bowel. It's going to cause us bloating. It's going to cause us diarrhea or constipation. If they are things you suffer, I suggest you book the workshop next week and come along and listen a bit more in depth. Because for £77 for 4 hours with lunch included, I think you're going to get a lot for your money. But you need to really understand your body is a system of systems. It is the most cleverest thing on the planet. That is why God said we are fearfully and wonderfully made. You can't go after anything if you just deal with the point of pain. You may have a point of pain. You may have a knee pain. You may have a back pain. You may have IBS. But I'm telling you, it starts up here. The first principle is thoughts. And if you don't believe me, I really can't help you. If you continue to find it easy to affirm things that are negative over things that are positive, you will struggle. You have got to know that you have the ability to actually make a change because you really create the environment you live in. Oh, I can't stand him, I'm going to kill him, I'm going to do this. You know, people wonder, my son never saw his father, people wonder how come I'm so calm about it. Because the truth of the matter is, that's the relationship I allowed to happen when I was of that age. Right? And I know that he blessed me with a wonderful child. What do I gain? Because my child is half me and half him. What do I gain with anger and malice in my heart? And what do I pass to my child? And how does it really, you know, it's not going to affect the air he breathes and the money he earns. So I have to focus on what I can control, on what I can do. And I know that if the principal thing that's in my heart is love, then I'm cool with that. I'm cool. And what's happened is, it's allowed me to become Britain's fittest woman, become a record holder, to become an author, and to make changes. I'm not just inspired or aspire to just see how much money I can store. I'm inspired and aspiring to make a difference in your life so that you can have a better life. Simply because I have the education for it and I have the passion for it. So that's what I share. So please like and share this video. I now have to go and do a radio interview, and I've got to do another one this morning at 11:30. So I'm talking about menopause for my radio show next week. I'm also talking to Dr. Hilary Jones about a campaign he's doing. So I've got to get myself prepared for those because the first interview is in 4 minutes. But I just wanted to share that with you. Please like and share this video. Don't just deal with the point of pain, because the point of pain comes from somewhere. And the minute your thoughts remain negative, remain angry, remain emotive, you will create an emotional response. And that emotional response will create a hormonal response. Because as long as you stay angry at someone or something that you really can't control, you allow it to control you. You allow it to control the way your body responds. And that means you allow it to have the potential to inflame your internal organs, to shut down your major stabilizers, and to expose your discs and your hips and your knees and your ankle and even your neck to pain. That's just going to mess you up. So like and share. Book on for next weekend if you want to. You can inbox me or email me, info@perfectflossecrets. I am going to cover all those. And as I said, a lady asked me, is your workshop going to cover the shoulders? Well, it's an extension of the neck, and it's an extension of what's housing my brain. So of course I'm going to cover the shoulders. I'm going to cover the whole body. So love you all. Have a fantastic weekend. We are here tomorrow. Tomorrow's 25 degrees tomorrow. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening. Chris, Christopher, Heather, and Tara. Share this video, like and share. Inbox me if you want any more information. And next weekend, come along, because that 4.5 hours, the first 2 hours, is going to be so powerful. When we put the masterclass together and we learn to do things. You guys, fearfully and wonderfully made, new bodies coming. Speak to you soon. Peace out. Bye.